What's up, Central Illinois? Derek Hayden here. Garrett and I love sharing all the awesome stories about our Central Illinois business leaders. We want to make sure our Central Illinois businesses are protected so we can continue to share all these great stories. That's why you should consider another great Central Illinois company, Pekin Insurance, for your business insurance needs. That's right, you can get all the commercial insurance coverages that your company needs from an excellent insurance company headquartered right here in Pekin, Illinois. Pekin Insurance offers comprehensive business coverage that lets you focus on what's important to you: employees, profits, and peace of mind. Ask your local Pekin Insurance agent about their commercial insurance products or learn more at pekininsurance.com. You can also contact your favorite podcast hosts, Garrett or myself, Derek, and we'll go beyond the expected for you.
Welcome to the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast, where business owners, thought leaders, and community champions from across Central Illinois come to share their story. The Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. Anything less would be uncivilized.
What's up, Central Illinois? I'm Derek Hayden. I'm here with Garrett Ulmer. We are your hosts for the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast, powered by Zambu. Zambu is a delicious grapefruit oral wildberry vodka-based spirit infused with a Brazilian buzz button. It's smooth, tasty, and leaves you with a signature tingle. Learn more at ZambuLiquors.com. Zambu, taste the tingle. All right, Central Illinois, today's guest is the owner of Southern Illinois Vacation Rentals, a co-host of the Small Town Big Business Podcast, and an alumni of Newton High School. Go Eagles. Ladies and gents of Central Illinois, please welcome Allison Hasler. How are you doing, Allison?
I am doing fantastic this morning. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Yeah, no
Our
problem.
pleasure.
We're glad to have you on for sure, and we can reconnect again.
Yeah, that is awesome. Talk about a small world. We haven't seen each other face to face, at least probably for years, possibly since high school. I don't remember.
Yeah, let's just say I had hair then.
Yeah.
Nice.
I understand.
And from pictures I've seen, the hair was frosted tips.
yeah. We're not going to talk about that anymore. So that's probably why I don't have hair at this point, I guess.
I thought it was a good look.
I thought I was cool too back then. So
awesome.
You were.
All right.
You were. I'll put it out there. Garrett Ulmer was cool in high school.
I'm only going to get one person to sign off on that vote probably, and it's going to be you, Allison. Thank you.
Perfect. All right, Allison. Well, to get you to know you a little bit better before we kick off the podcast, I guess the discussion part of the podcast, we'll give it to Garrett, and he's going to run you through our speed round questions.
All right.
All right, Allison, I know you said you'd listened to a couple episodes, so you're probably a little bit prepared for this. So we'll just kick it off. First concert that you ever attended?
A Womack and George Strait.
Yes.
Is her name Allison Womack? I don't remember. It was the country singer.
I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's terrible. It's the same first name and I don't remember. Anyway, George Strait, Allison Womack opening.
That's pretty good.
Perfect. Favorite movie?
Boy, it's a toss-up, but I'm going to say Wizard of Oz. And probably because we're coming off of the holidays, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Those are my two classics. I can watch them anytime.
Yeah, my wife always makes the boys watch Rudolph every year for Christmas, so it's a good one.
It's mandatory in our house too.
Absolutely. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Cookie dough.
Perfect. iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Gotcha. Favorite social media platform?
I'm old and I'm going to say Facebook.
Okay. Gotcha. Last but not least, I know you're kind of down in Southern Illinois, but why Central to Southern Illinois?
Oh, man. Well, Central Illinois is my roots.
Yeah.
So growing up in Jasper County, I absolutely love coming home. I still call it home. So when we visit, there's this fun, my husband and I joke about it. He's also from Jasper County. And it's like every other time we come to Central Illinois to visit, I say, let's buy some land. Let's buy a house. We can Airbnb it when we're not there or whatever. And then other times we'll come back and I'm like, oh, I'm glad we've got like 2.5 hour distance here, a buffer zone. But no, in all sincerity, we absolutely love it. Not only because of the of the people, but the community at large, right?
Yeah.
So not just the people that we're always visiting, but when we run into people at the dollar store or the grocery store, everybody's so friendly. And if we ran into each other
Yep.
and we hadn't seen each other for 20 years, we would probably still at least talk for a few minutes before, making our rounds, instead of acting like we never saw each other.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
so I really do love that about Central Illinois. It's like a great, big, huge community.
Yep.
Yeah,
For sure.
great answer. Yeah, I will say most people say, "Oh, just where I'm from." That's what we end up hearing. So we appreciate the answer, Allison. Thanks for explaining that.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, Allison, for our listeners, what we'd like to do next is if you could give us a rundown of your story, where you came
Sure.
from. We heard obviously from Jasper County, how you got to where you are now, and anything in between you want to share. We'll just give you the mic and you take it from here.
All right. So I feel like my life has been a giant ping pong machine, and I have ping ponged around quite a bit. So it goes from one extreme to the other. But anyway, I'll make it quick. So before I graduated high school, I joined the National Guard. So fast forward to after 9/11, I get deployed, and I was deployed with the Paris unit, 1544th Transportation Company. So that was in 2003 to 2005. We came home. If you're from the Central Illinois region, you probably knew that we had a really hard time there. We lost 5 individuals, over 20 sustainable injuries that had to be sent home. So after we came home, my husband and I actually were already married. We did the gunshot wedding. That was literally the day before my deployment orders. So when we came home, we decided that we were going to get a little bit of that buffer zone in between us and the rest of the people that we knew, just to, give our marriage a little bit of nurturing, so to speak. So we decided to move to Southern Illinois. He had accepted a job in Southern Illinois in Marion. And so we literally moved within 2 weeks of me getting back home from deployment. So that would have been in 2005. We love the area. We picked this area because we literally were the people that 15 years later are the target audience. We are staycationers. We would come down from Newton and spend the weekend, go Garden of Gods, do the wine trails or whatever. And so we just knew that we liked the area. We didn't really know what all exists in Southern Illinois, but we knew that we liked it enough that we would come down. So I ended up going to work for the state, federal or state penitentiary. So I was a IDOC correctional officer when we first got here. It was easy for me to get in at the time because I was a female veteran with some college. So I finished up my degree then, and knowing that I was not making a career out of the correctional officer thing, I took the first ticket out of there in my career field. It was a 65% pay cut from going from a correctional officer to a health educator at the health department, and said, see you later. Started my career in public health. Fast forward, got my master's degree in public health as well. Went up basically from the health department, their county health department, to the state health department. And my final resting place using my degree was for the state of Illinois, Illinois Department of Public Health. I was the regional health officer and administrative law judge for this region. So that was the last official time that I used my degree. I feel like a lot of people say that, especially entrepreneurs. If they went to college, it's probably not in business, not in, entrepreneurship or anything like that. So that was the last time. That was in 2017. And I took some time off of work. At the same time, my husband had just sold a business and kind of taking a sabbatical himself, not really sure where he wanted to go from there. So we had purchased a 50-foot motor yacht to charter. I swear there's a point to this story. So we decided to charter a boat. So a 50-foot motor yacht that slept 10 people total, very comfortable, very, very big, on Kentucky Lake. So he had this idea. He already had his captain's license. I said, great, I'm a great skipper. I'll do whatever I need to do. And so that's what we did. So for a couple of seasons, we chartered, I think for 4 seasons. The name of the business was Kentucky Lake Boat Charters. Very creative, I know. But it was fun, and it was exactly how you would think. It was a pleasure boat, so it wasn't a fishing charter. We were hosting bachelorette parties and 40-year-old birthday parties and family reunions, and really loved the experience. It was our first our first experience in the hospitality industry. And when we weren't using the boat, we would Airbnb it. And surprisingly, even with the keys pulled and anchored at a transit slip, people went nuts over spending the night in this boat. And I just couldn't believe it. But the light bulb turned on that if something's unique enough and something is special enough, it doesn't matter if it's a tree house or a yurt or, a log cabin, people are going to seek it out, and they're wanting that unique experience. So after a couple of years of doing that, logistically, it was still an hour commute from where we were. So we thought, how can we make this easier? How can we do something along these same lines, but make it more convenient for us? So we kind of reintroduced ourselves to the back 5 acres of our home estate and said, maybe we can do some cabins here. So that's what we did. We did a lot of research. We took a look at what was available at the time in Southern Illinois. It was a lot of, we still had a lot of those traditional Victorian bed and breakfast. And then we had a lot of, very lodgy places to stay, your very traditional cabins. And so I thought, let's do something that I know that I would pay money to stay in myself. So ours were a lot more, a little bit more modern, a lot more airy and light, and, the white shiplap and all the things. So that was in 2018. That was our last year of chartering as well. So we did sell the boat after we made that transition, and I fell in love with the hospitality industry. What I didn't realize at the time, but I really fell in love with the back end, really the property management systems, and making everything a really well-oiled machine on the back end, and trying to make sure that all of those processes and all those logistics are really seamless on the back end. So after a while, we were doing that, and fast forward to 2020, I had a friend that was selling a lake house, and she didn't get any offers. So I said, you know what, I will, if it's a logistical issue for you, maybe I can try managing it, co-hosting it. If it doesn't work out, no harm, no foul. And she said, yeah, let's give it a go. So they took it off the market. We started the Southern Illinois vacation rental side officially with the one house. That was May of 2020. And we followed the co-hosting model and slowly built up where the cabins now are just a very small, our 3 cabins are a very small piece of this very much larger umbrella of about 20 properties that we manage now, and about 5 or so in the queue right now at this time. Gotcha. So yeah. And at the time, so in May 2020, when I took on this one property and I had our 3, I also took on my last full-time job. I was solicited to work for the city of Marion under the mayor. It was a great experience, but after about 1.5 years of the business building, I knew that there was that fork in the road and had to make that decision of whether to pull back and then focus on my work at the city, or cut ties at the city and focus all in on the growing business. So obviously that's what I chose. And it's been a really fun process because it doubled in size since I left the city.
Yeah.
That's
wow.
Crazy. Yeah, that's a good story, Allison.
Woo!
It's great.
Take a breath.
Sweating over here trying to get all that out.
I commend you, because I couldn't remember 3/4 of that if I tried to, even if I've done it. So good for you. That's awesome.
That is,
like I
great.
said, it's been a ping pong story. It's we've bounced from one thing to another. But we've been in the hospitality industry now since 2016, the rental industry, the short-term rental industry since 2018. So I feel like we're slowly getting to, some legs under us with being a well-established short-term rental business. So
absolutely. I would say the fear of taking risk is good for you. You enjoy it. It sounds like.
Yeah. I like to take on a lot of challenges. I like to have a lot of balls juggling, but there is, there's the beauty to this business. And I think the beauty to a lot of different industries, whether it's farming or, just whatever else, there's a lot of ebb and flow to your busy seasons and your slow seasons. And I need that. So I do need that time of rest. We are in the time, we're officially in the slow season after New Year's. We don't pick back up until usually around spring break time. And then it gradually just starts to peak out, in the summer months into fall. So I definitely need my slow season where I can kind of, I can sleep in, I can piddle around the house a little bit and, take a couple of days off here and there. But yes, I am a workaholic and I do love to have a lot of balls juggling at the same time.
Yeah,
So.
good for you. So for you listeners, I know, so obviously, Allison, you mentioned short-term rentals, and just it's synonymous with Airbnb, VRBO. So think of those platforms, listeners, as you're thinking short-term rentals. So Airbnb, I can remember when I first heard the term Airbnb, and I was like,
Yeah.
what? People are paying to live in someone else? Like, it's like someone's renting someone else's house. Like, it didn't quite click with me.
Yeah. I remember reading it was an up and coming article, I think in Forbes, about the new business Airbnb. And I remember reading that article and thinking, this is really bizarre, but it makes sense. And what a great business model. And so, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And of course, so I am a client of Allison's, which is how we got hooked up. So just the model of going back to this is any business owner having a solution that people are looking for. So providing some type of solution. So Allison, you are very good at you mentioned the processes, the back end, the hosting side of it. And that's something for me and probably a lot of other people, it scares the heck out of me. The constant, talking with people and putting out this fire and that fire and broken water lines and that type of stuff. So, it's just a business model, and any business owner or entrepreneur, if you're solving a problem out there, someone will pay you to solve that problem if you want to create your own business around it. You look at any business, every business is a solution provider, whether it's a product solution or a service solution. So you just have to find something that you're good at. Allison, you said you enjoyed the short-term rental business and the processes. Not everybody enjoys that. So people are out there that need to hire someone that, or a business that can handle that. So kudos to you for identifying that you liked it and enjoyed it and could provide a service to other people. As you have built your processes, on the short-term rental side, there's a lot that people don't see that are behind the scenes. So obviously you've got the booking side of it, the listing side you have your own website. It's direct bookings through SIVR.rentals or .rental.
Rentals, plural.
Rentals. So SIVR.rentals. So check that out, and that you can see all of the properties that Allison manages. And then also most of your listings are on Airbnb, VRBO, those type of websites as well. So what a lot of people don't see is all the things that go into the behind the scenes stuff. So tell us a little bit about how you manage that and what all goes into it and how you've built up your processes.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So that is something, number one, I am still learning. And number two, one thing that I definitely learned is that scalability is so important in sure any business, to know what that next scale looks like and what those processes are going to look like, because the same processes that I had for 3 cabins didn't work when I was at 8 managed properties. And when I was at 10, those processes didn't work, and that scale didn't work for 20 properties. So I felt like in the last year, especially as we doubled in size and went through that loop from 10 properties to 20, that I was learning how to swim when I was already in the deep water, right? And no one wants to be in that situation. And I found myself there. So my processes are constantly changing and constantly trying to improve what those look like. The one thing that does help is the automation. what you can automate. It's just like delegating. Take those things that you don't like to do and pay somebody to do them for you, because it's going to make you money in the end, where you put your strengths where they belong, instead of working on something that you say, oh, I can't afford to pay that out. You really can, because you're going to cost yourself money in the end by doing it slower and dragging your feet about it, than to just give it to somebody else. You know, my weakness, my Achilles tendon is the accounting side. Absolutely hate the numbers. Never, you know, I liked algebra, not an accountant. Definitely, definitely not somebody that likes to work with the numbers. So I have had to, you know, make that decision that there is no way that it is well worth my time to do that book work for myself. So I'm, you know, putting that out there, you know, paying somebody else to do that. But really the automation has been probably the number one source that helped me scale quickly. And I use a lot of that through property management systems. So there's a lot of different ones out there. I'm sure that I'm going to hear, or people that are listening to this may already be part of that Airbnb world, you know, whether they have one place or multiple places or wanting to scale, but getting that property management system on the back end, so that, you know, you're not having to block out multiple calendars manually, or having to send key codes manually to people. So all of those things are all automated. And you can do that through a variety of them. I personally use owner reservations. There's probably over 100 different property management systems just for short-term rentals out there. That's the one that I personally like and use. But that is the biggest piece, is getting that automation set up. And that's down to dynamic pricing, to setting your, you know, your cleaning fees and management fees and your rental agreements, and how you're going to set up your, you know, direct or your security deposits, or if you're going to use security deposits. And, you know, all of those things really take place on that back end. So one of the biggest things that most people don't recognize or realize is all of those, well, let me say the number one issue that goes overlooked is laundry. So, and especially when you're in a rural area like us, you know, be it Southern Illinois, Central Illinois, you don't have those, you know, call services that will drop off and pick up laundry, you know, on a daily basis or weekly basis. You really have to figure out how that's going to work. And I know that was, Derek, I probably talked ad nauseum with you and your wife when we first started talking about doing this rental, that we have to either have big enough capacity to do that laundry on site, or it's a cost that we take it off and do it off site and bring it back. And those are, you know, logistical costs. So, so that is one big piece. The other piece is inventory. So, you know, obviously buying in bulk is going to be the most important factor, and then distributing out from essentially a mini warehouse. That miniature warehouse is still my garage right now. We're getting ready to build, rebuild a new, basically an overflow laundry facility and inventory house.
Cool.
It's still going to be on my property because that's the cheapest, but
Sure.
it's at least going to be out of my house, out of my walkway of coming into my house. But yeah, doing, you know, getting those things, getting the right things to the right properties, and then you know, and in like in an industry, finding the right help, finding the right people, and making sure that they can be eyes and ears for you, doing a quality job, paying attention to detail. You know, those are that's probably the biggest challenge that anybody has, especially when you're, you know, working with cleaning teams, which we have been very fortunate to have great cleaning team as we've built. We have decided to take some of those back in-house just because it makes a little more sense for us. But, you know, making sure, because that's a lot of really hard work, especially when you're looking at, you know, you have this gorgeous, 4-bedroom, 3-bath. Is that right? 4-bed,
Yep.
3-bath house that's 2 stories. You know, there's a lot of surface space to cover, and, you know, and guests will let you know if they find a, you know, hair on, you know, a clean pillow because it didn't get pulled off in the dryer. Those sort of attention to detail with that much space is it's so important, and it is so difficult to do. And that's really what it boils down to. And, being able to provide that great customer service, 80% of that is going to be based off of that cleanliness and cleaning team and the quality that you provide them from the get-go. So as soon as they walk into that house, it smells clean, feels clean, is clean. And then, the other 20% is just the communication, the appreciation, letting them know that you appreciate them being there and that they chose you. So yeah, I don't know if I really explained anything, but
You did.
No, for sure.
Yeah. So it sounds like delegation is the big key to building out a solid process for you. Obviously, you can't multiply yourself. So you got to find people who are good at what they do.
Yep.
So you can do what you're good at, what you're good at doing.
Yep. And so I did have I did hire on my first full-time person. So I do have a communications manager, I think is what we decided to call Ashlyn. So one of the biggest things when I was scaling and feeling like I was drowning while I was trying to figure out how to do all of this, is that my phone never stopped ringing. It never stopped ringing. The questions that, people interested that they have, even if it was just something that was a quick turnaround, 2 minutes here, 2 minutes here, it was sucking the life out of my day and I couldn't get to do anything else. So this past year, I brought on a communications manager. So she takes care of all of my communication on the guest side. So I still work with my property owners. They are ultimately my client number one. Client number two is the guest. And then, so she is taking care of all of that front end communication. Again, we still have a lot of things automated. So we do try to take as much guesswork out of all of our communication and the descriptions and all of our short-term rentals. So there is not a lot of extra questions that need to be answered ahead of time. But if that comes about, she's there for that. And that was a huge relief.
Awesome.
And because she is also a realtor, she is also in the same space as me as well. And the model that we use, I actually pay her a commission from my commission. So that ebb and flow of work, she already knew that the downtime is going to be in January, February. We're not going to make beams, but we'll be doing really great in the summertime. So as long as you can withstand that with the company, then you're going to be doing really well. So, and that has worked really well for us.
Awesome. That's great.
You had mentioned in the past year, you've doubled in growth as far as your size of your property. Are you still looking to trend to take on more or expand your radius, or are you kind of, you got enough on your plate right now?
So I've actually thought about that a lot this year. And what my word of the year this year is to simplify. So I am reducing any outside noise, reducing anything that is going on that doesn't involve the quality of the business that I have right in front of me. So that is what I'm focusing on this year, is to take what I have and make it the absolute best that it can possibly be. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to take on anymore because I know myself, and I know to be true to myself and answer that honestly, that if something comes along that looks like it's a great fit, I know I'm going to say yes to it. But I am going to say no to a lot of places. I did realize that in order to stay on brand, and I know that this is a common topic among all industries, is knowing your brand, knowing your avatar, knowing what you personally want to do. And that has required me to say no to a lot of places, a lot of great property owners. But I have learned to say no because we're going to put in the same amount of effort and the same amount of quality, whether it's a house that's going to bring in $10,000 a month, or if it's a property that's going to bring in $2,000 a month. And so we really have to be very diligent about selecting the right ones that make the most sense for the business. So our tagline is unique, boutique, and luxury accommodations. And so if it doesn't fit into one of those three categories, then it's a no. So we we won't manage just your run of the mill basic house. It does have to be that attractive, like somebody, just looking at it online, it's like, oh, I want to stay there sometime. I'm going to
A
put that in my
destination.
file of,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
You
So
can visualize it as you're looking at it, right?
yes. So that has been a learning curve for me, because I'm a yes person. I like to say yes. I like to be able to accommodate everybody and everything. And I have learned that saying no is actually allowing the business to grow in the right way. I have also learned not to say yes just because the house is great, because my number one client is not the house, it is the property owner. So if a property owner doesn't seem like it's a good fit, then I have learned the hard way that if my spidey senses are turning off or going off, and I feel like there are some red flags with how, what the expectations are, or how we would have a partnership, because they're not hiring me. Derek didn't hire me. I didn't hire Derek. It is a partnership. If that is a struggle and it doesn't feel like there's a good fit there, then I have learned that even if the property is great, it's not worth my time, energy, and headache to try to put a square peg into a round hole, so to speak. And so I did learn, and I've had to cut some really great houses out just because the property owners were not a great fit. And then I have learned that with that discovery introduction meeting, if a property owner does not feel like it's a good fit, then I'm not going to try to force it. So those have been two things. And I know that, a lot of different industries are like that. I would assume that, any type of wedding planner, for example, would be the same way. Like if you're feeling bridezilla from the first time, it is not worth your quality time to be trying to fit that into your schedule. That's just, it's just not worth it. We have limited time on this earth, and it is not worth it to have a unhappy life, especially as an entrepreneur, because you're the one setting the rules, right? You're the one setting the goals. So yeah, I've just had to learn the hard way, because that's,
Sure.
I'm a stubborn person, I guess.
Well, Garrett and I have had the same issue in the insurance business where people call in. I mean, you get people calling in and contacting, and some of it is just, you're going to spend more time on it than it's worth. And, I think a misconception in the insurance business is, if your premium is $300, you think we're making $300 on it, when in reality, we're making about $3 on it. So,
Right.
It's like, I just can't help you because, the amount of time it's going to take. So it's really hard. And Garrett and I both have had to learn the hard way of saying no, or passing it on to someone else. Hey, I'm going to refer it to this person who can help you.
Very much to what Allison said. It's like, I feel like when you first start off, you're trying to do as much as you can to keep your life going as well. And then you get to a point and you discover not all the clients maybe that you wrote in the beginning, or clients that you've helped, whatever industry that you're in, saying maybe we weren't the correct partner then. And you do have to part ways, because they're not your ideal client anymore. And, it's a tough decision, but like you said, it's not worth your insanity or sanity, I guess you could say, you just got to figure out what your ideal client looks like and make sure it's a good partnership for everyone.
Yeah. When you see a client calling and you're like, and you don't want to answer the phone, you know that there's some red flags that are very obvious. And it's, that's, another thing is, knowing what you're worth, and knowing that your time is valuable, because you're putting a lot of time and energy into your work. And I can see the same thing with you guys, but like taking on a client that is not appreciative of the business that you are doing for them. And I'm sure that you've probably heard it 100 times that somebody says, well, I could go online and not, and bypass an agent, and, and not seeing the value of an agent. I've had that conversation with some property owners that are like, well, gosh, that seems like a pretty steep management fee, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to list out and bullet item my value added to your business, but you can also self-manage, and I am totally okay with that. That's
take it away.
So
right.
I stopped. I've definitely stopped arguing with anybody that would want to beat me over my price. I find it very it is fair and transparent, and it's it's take it or leave it. And I know the value added that I provide. So, and my team, obviously.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
great.
So we mentioned in the intro that you are the co-host of Small Town Big Business podcast. So tell us a little bit about your podcast and what your concept is.
Sure. So this started when I was working at the city, and we have a very driven goal to not only keep and retain our young people, but also attract other small business owners to move into the area. We are seeing a lot of industrial growth, a lot of buildings or industry coming in, but we also want to see small businesses grow in our area. So our mayor is a small business owner. He is, a self-made man, and that is his crown jewel, is to be able to bring in a lot of small businesses. So we were thinking, like, what is it that holds people back from either moving back to their hometown or to a more rural location from a city, or somebody, what is keeping them from, say, maybe they're already in the area, but haven't taken those steps on their ideas. They have an idea of a business, they have a desire in their heart, but they really haven't taken that step. So the concept really stemmed from, let's interview as many small business owners, successful small business owners as possible, and let's reduce the stigma that it's hard, it's too competitive because you're in a smaller pool of people. Let's find out what makes them thrive in a small town and why they love doing business in a small town. So we started there, and so the concept grew from there to interview as many small businesses as possible. Of course, the low-hanging fruit is in Marion, Illinois, but we will take them from anywhere. We haven't started with the online, so that was one strategic talk that we had for this upcoming year. Like, okay, so not everybody can get to Marion for the interview, so let's try to branch out and maybe reach some other neighboring communities and be able to do this a little bit more satellite or online. But yeah, that is the concept. We have interviewed some really, really great people, all different kinds of industry, and I have been so blown away by the amount of businesses that are able to run and have clients across the world and across the United States and all over the place. And it really, really blows my mind. And it's been so much fun to be interviewing other people and learning about their business and seeing what excites them. It always motivates me. And, especially if I'm having a down day or a down week of a lot of plumbing issues, which seems to be the case of 2022. I think we've changed out enough toilets that surely over half of our toilets are new now because they all went out. But it really ignites that fire in me, listening to other small businesses and what makes them excited about being a business owner, and what those trials and tribulations are and how they get over those.
That's so awesome. It sounds like you're pretty passionate about the podcast. I've got to ask, meeting with entrepreneurs, business owners, what's one common thing that you think you take away from meeting with every one of them?
Stop. Let's see. I would say for the most part, one of the most underlying ways that people describe it is get out of your own head and just start and just do it. Believe in yourself and stop negatively talking to yourself about what may not work or what may not happen. But yeah, it's just believe in yourself and just do it. Even if it's just starting off small, with a bigger vision in mind, just start. That's been the number one thing that we've heard every time.
Great. Yep. That's a theme on our podcast too. Just take the step, take action, and something will happen.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
good or bad. You never know, but usually it's good. So
yeah.
Cool. So go ahead. No, go ahead.
I I know this is kind of off topic, but I know that you do interview not just business owners, but also people that represent resources for
Mhm.
small businesses as well. And I haven't listened to the podcast yet, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But um, the one thing that I would say that even if you're not in an industry that you're wanting to say contract with the government or, get into those sort of things, getting your certifications as whether it's in my scenario, a woman-owned business or a veteran-owned business,
Mhm.
um, you don't have to pay somebody to do that. There are resources across actually the United States that help with that. And in one of my ping pongs that I didn't go over, I was actually a consultant for the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. It works alongside the Small Business Development Center, and they have specialty people there that will help walk through those certifications. So whether it's the AA program, which is the minority-owned program, or the state of Illinois minority-owned program, any of those programs that offer the seal of approval that you are a certified small business owner in one of those specific areas, that's huge marketing. As long as you're willing to do the legwork as far as the work. Sorry, my dog's barking.
Yeah, that's good.
As long as you're willing to do the paperwork, it is not expensive. In fact, you're looking at maybe $75 for a processing fee, and that really is it. There's a lot of companies out there that'll say that they'll do it for $500. Don't take them up on it.
Yeah.
Work with the PTAC, work with the Procurement Technical Assistance Center, and they can help you get through those certifications. So that's my plug for one of my past lives as
Awesome.
a PTAC consultant.
Great.
Great advice.
Yes. So before we hop off of here, Allison, for Southern Illinois vacation rentals, there is a special running right now for the month of February and for Valentine's Day. Could you share that with our listeners as well?
Yes. Okay. So Ashlyn actually put this together. So I am going to try to go off memory, but we are having a package deal that you are allowed to use. It is completely optional. So if you are coming to the area and you are not wanting to celebrate Valentine's Day and you hate Valentine's Day, I promise you will not have rose petals on your bed when you get here. Okay. So this is not going to turn into a bad thing. So, but we do have a Valentine's Day package for any of the properties that you book, and you receive 2 bottles of champagne or wine, a certificate to a date night dinner, and rose petals on the bed, I believe a box of chocolates, and also I'm leaving something out here. We might have a bouquet of roses. I could be wrong about that, but it's going to be great and it's beautiful. And we're going to make it set up so that if you are not the most romantic person or not the most creative person and you want to surprise your significant other, then we have that option where we just take care of everything and it's going to be there as soon as you get there. And we have some beautiful properties that it would work well.
Awesome. So all you husbands listening, all you have to do is go to sivr.rentals and find your property, and it's for the whole month of February.
Yep.
So it doesn't have to be on Valentine's Day. And you're going to look like the husband of the year, just so you know.
And we will make you look good.
There you go. Perfect. Well,
for most of us husbands, we all need that help for sure.
I understand. I've been married for 20 years or almost 20 years. So totally get it.
Yeah. Well, Allison, you did a great job. For all you listeners out there.
This has been really fun.
Yes. I feel like this is going to be a good one that people are going to listen to. So yeah, you gave some good information, not just on Airbnbs, but business stuff too. So I'm excited to see the numbers on this one. But all you listeners out there, make sure you're subscribing to the CIBL podcast on your favorite podcast platform. While you're there, you can also leave a quick review and subscribe to the Small Town Big Business podcast. You can follow.
Please do.
Yes, you can follow us on social media, mainly LinkedIn, Facebook. You can connect with Garrett and I there personally as well. Until next time, Allison, you've officially been civilized. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, guys. This was great.
Thanks, Allison.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/CIBL Podcast. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It's the civilized thing to do.